so far, not so good. Hello, my fellow, Season 3 enjoyers? I wanted to kind of take a moment to sit down and give my own thoughts on Season 3, and, well, there's a couple things I like. I can't help but have this sort of feeling that the overwhelming vibe is kind of, right? Like, it's hard to say that it's bad, because it's sort of just nothing, which is almost worse in my opinion. Like, Season 1 was bad, but, like, a lot of the Malignant Hearts were fun to use, like the Barber. Whereas this just feels weirdly inoffensive, which in itself is more offensive. Kinda stick with me here. So, the seasons are developed by two different teams. One team handles every odd-numbered season, the other team handles every even-numbered season. So, we are back with the same team that brought us Season 1, giving us Season 3. Now, I'm not about to sit here and go, "Damn those fools! How could they not craft us a season as good as 2? Because, you know, they're still human beings making a game, trying their best. A developer sat in his chair doing what he's been told to do. You know, it's not their fault. The overall direction is where the fault lies, and there seems to be a serious issue in that team with direction. Even conceptually, the ideas aren't bad. The robot companion on paper, and indeed before the season started, I thought was going to be really fun. But in practice, it sort of might as well not exist in a lot of cases. I do think people are overblowing how useless it is, but it is undoubtedly the least impactful seasonal power mechanic that we've had. I realize there's only been 3 of them, but it still needs to be said, and it's not even close. The point is, then, that I don't understand why there isn't, like, communication between the two teams. It feels like Season 2 made a lot of progress, added a lot of fundamental content. The unique bosses. Granted, you could only do that once, but the vampiric powers were amazing. The blood harvest was amazing. So it's weird to me that the other team doesn't look at that, look at the feedback and go, okay, how can we build on that in our season? Granted, one of the reasons for that is that they will have started on Season 3 as soon as they finish Season 1, while Season 2 was still kind of being made and released. But still, there's like 6 months of a time gap, so you can certainly adapt. And one of the most egregious things is it just feels like it's a weird step back that didn't necessarily need to happen. And a lot of the seasonal mechanics in 3 seem like they fundamentally misidentify what makes not just Diablo 4 fun, but an ARPG fun. What I will say is I'm now very excited and hopeful for Season 4, done by the Season 2 team, and Season 4 is going to have the itemization changes, and perhaps even all aspects in Codex, and that kind of deep quality of life that we need and should have had. That really is a little bit of hope. But to actually focus on Season 3 then, with that context, we kind of just need to look at everything. We, of course, still have gauntlets and leaderboards to come. How they turn out is anyone's guess, and they might save or condemn the season. I think they'll definitely do one or the other. I personally liked Abattoir Observer to begin with, but the longer it went on and the more of a numbers game it began, I really fell out of love with it. And something like the Gauntlet that's about optimizing your time through a set dungeon appeals to me more in theory. But then again, the Seneschal appealed to me in theory. And in practice, it's just a bit kind of there, right? Like, the vampiric powers were, most of them, statistical increases in the background. Stuff like hemomancy or metamorphosis you would see and you would feel and it would be awesome, but a lot of the things, like, have more attack speed, well, yeah, you're attacking faster, but it is just a numbers amp. Yet, the thing is, when that numbers amp is big enough and it makes you feel powerful enough and you can feel it, really feel it, it is fun. And despite the Seneschal being much more visible, it's there there next to you, you can't feel what it's doing as much. It certainly doesn't exist to do damage because the damage is pathetic. Whether that changes at 100 when it starts scaling with you more, I don't know, but it's not there to do damage. So what is it there to do? Well, provide things that your class can't do or your build can't do normally. And in that sense, it's fine, I feel like. Like, auto-defense, deleting projectiles is fine. That one you can at least see. You can see it zap them and they go out the air. That feels nice. But then you have stuff like Adrenaline, which is just, hey, do more damage. Which, again, is nice, but it's do more less damage than the vampiric powers did. So then we kind of just have the tuning stones, given that all of the governing stones are just sort of basic kind of whatever effects. And then the tuning stones do semi-interesting things, like, hey, as a sorcerer, I can make it so it does chill on the enemies, which means I can use chill-based skill passives on my tree without actually having to apply chill myself. Woo! And that's cool, right? I like that, but it's not like, oh my god, a season of this, yes! Whereas I did feel like, yes, a season of vampiric powers, this is gonna be a wild ride. Honestly, they could have just at least let effects created by the Seneschal count as if your character did them. To use Sorcerer as an example again, the poison and shadow damage it does doesn't count towards the Talrash's ring, which was one potentially actually exciting, fun interaction. That would be a nice damage increase because of the Seneschal, but I guess that would be too much. It's just underbaked. So I just feel like there is both a severe weakness in the strength of the effects and the gameplay alteringness of the effects. And if both those things are happening with the seasonal power mechanic, you are going to end up in the situation, which is kind of what's happening, how people are feeling, where it's sort of, it just feels like default base Diablo with a tiny little increase from this robot. We're not really doing anything different. We're not got new builds. We're just playing our vanilla classes with minor increases. So why is it really a season in that sense? And that's what I'm saying. It's not bad. It's just nothing. And I do think that that is worse because it's so anticlimactic and disappointing. So yeah, the Seneschal kind of needed to be more, and it still might be. That is something you can fix with at least numbers tuning to sort the power aspect. But like, you could have done so much more with it to make it feel a lot more unique and fun. Like, even if we ignore character power, imagine if your Seneschal did something as simple as pick up gold for you. Imagine if it did something as simple as pick up cinders in Helltide for you. That would be really nice, right? Like, it's actually doing a little function that we get this neat little automatic hoovering of loot for a season. That kind of gives it a place that we would appreciate in a way that isn't strictly power, and I'm not against that. Obviously, you could go as far as, you know, auto-looting actual items, but then you need, like, a loot filter, and that's a whole other system, so that's fair enough. But just, you know, walking over grabbable loot for you would be nice. The Seneschal can block projectiles with its body. That happens accidentally with the random minion AI that they've got going, which still needs fixing. It feels kind of ironic that Necromancers and Druids are all out here struggling with their minions that they want to use and they want to love that just don't work properly, and then we get a slightly better, both in AI and functionality, but still not where it should be for a main mechanic pet for everyone. It's almost salt in the wound for those classes. But if it went out of its way to body block projectiles for you, yeah, that would be at least something as well. Bottom line, the Seneschal just needs to do more, because it feels too much like we're just playing our base classes plus the new seasonal uniques. Then we have the actual vaults themselves, which a new category of Nightmare Dungeon, again on paper, is fun. And I will admit, the idea of a trap system where you are rewarded for, like, precise, skillful control of the movement of your character is an entertaining experience to me. In practice, however, this is an ARPG where we want to smash through hundreds of enemies in the densest possible packs endlessly. So you kind of are racing along, and then you reach a trap room, and it's like, okay, I can do this. Here we go. Yep, there we have it. Except if you're Barb, Sorcerer, and Rogue, then you just dash through anyway, and again, the Necromancers and the Druids like, well, guess I'm gonna just walk, and that also feels kinda bad. Obviously, they knew when designing it that 3 of the classes were essentially gonna invalidate the whole mechanic, so was that just sort of like, okay, that's fine, I guess we just accept that, which again is weird. Like, I don't think the vaults are inherently awful, I just don't think they're different enough from a normal Nightmare dungeon. The density is fine, the new mechanical enemies I think are cool, like vibe and aesthetic. In fact, the storyline of this season is the best of the 3 seasons, but that's such a minor factor that's done once you're done with the seasonal storyline. So when it comes to the vaults and the pearls and the stacks, why aren't you rewarded for every single stack you keep? Why can you go back at the very end of the dungeon and apply more stacks once you've killed all the enemies? Yes, you can't in the Echo of Malphas dungeon, but that's how it should work in all of them. Then you really are committing to how good you think you're going to be at avoiding traps. But then again, you can just put on a bajillion pearls and run through them and not have to worry about it anyway because you've got so many stacks it doesn't matter. Except no, because you shouldn't be spending any pearls at all until you have got the unique stones from Echo of Malphas, because he costs 10 to enter and you need at least 14 for his 2 big chests at the end, so spending them anywhere else until you have unlocked the unique stones is a huge waste and is going to be shooting yourself in the foot. It doesn't work with itself. The synergy between Pearls, Echo of Malphas, Nightmare Vaults, and traps with the stacks, they don't actually help each other, and the rewards too don't play into it in a way that makes sense. It feels like kinda no one played it, almost, and that feels really harsh to say, but it's the only way I can really accurately convey it. When you have me and our fellow Diablo content creators and loads of you guys in the comments on Reddit everywhere instantly coming up with suggestions that are realistically implementable, they're not like crazy workloads or, you know, outside of the scope of the game, that would instantly make everything more fun, and it is clear to see that it would, it does make you wonder what is going on with that side of the season teams. And it is suddenly interesting to me that this has happened. I still think it is, of course, better than Season 1 overall, but I think a large part of that is because it's had to keep a lot of the good groundwork that's baked into now the base game that Season 2 added, like the unique bosses. And fair enough, adding timers to the map for world bosses, making Helltide constant, putting the Helltide chest, mystery, and steel on the maps. You don't have to use an external website to find them. That's good, that's nice, but quality of life changes like that aren't going to save or take away the heat from when your fundamental 2 big mechanics, vaults and Seneschal, feel, in the Seneschal's case, too underwhelming, and in the Vault's case, anti-synergistic with the literal fabric of the game and how it's meant to be played. And then Arcane Tremors are, again, fine. They're not as good as Blood Harvest, but they're still fine. They're dense enough, there's stuff to do, the little trap totems are whatever, the summonable one with the Son of Malphas at the end, yeah, that's, again, fine. They're still the second best overworld event that exists after Blood Harvest, so there we go. But the thing is, I don't want to fall into the trap of every season we have, this is the Blood Harvest equivalent, this is the this equivalent, this is the... Like, I want them to experiment and try other things, but that does run the risk of those things being just kind of worse than what worked and we liked before. Essentially, it's kind of awkward, because while I'm still enjoying it, because I like Sorcerer, and I especially like the new unique helm, and I'll be bringing you my first Meteor build very soon, I just want to like the seasonal mechanics more, and I thought I would. Like, that's, again, back to that frustration. The ideas in concept are really good. They're fun. I like it. Trap-filled dungeons you've got to avoid for extra rewards. A robot companion that does stuff for you and you can tinker with it and tune it. Great. But this is an execution issue. Hell, I would take the robot companion just being, like, attached to you, like a backpack. There is backpack slots. You know, it gives you, like, Doc Octopus arms, and it does the things from you, your character, so you're always the center, instead of relying on the AI, or it doing things. And maybe it could tune you, like we have, like a cyborg season to follow vampire season. I think that's probably the way, so that the governing and tuning stones are tuning and governing our new, like, ancient technology parts in our characters to actually affect our core skills, that would have been the way to go and a really excellent implementation. But as it currently stands, I just wanted to blast out my initial thoughts on everything here and kind of convey that the overwhelming vibe for me is nothing here is inherently bad per se, except a bit of the vaults with their anti-synergy to ARPGs in general. It's just sort of bland. And that is the greatest of shames. We'll see how long it goes on for. We do have Last Epoch coming, and that's looking very exciting. I am still very keen on leaderboards and gauntlets, see how they roll out. There's still a lot of sorcerer builds I want to explore, but you can definitely get the feeling that Season 3 is going to last longer than Season 1, but definitely not as long as Season 2. But now then, let me know your thoughts. Like if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below. And until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.